I infiltrated a $50 million Ponzi scheme to get my mom's money back. They call him the King of Wall Street, Julian Thorne, 26 years old, founder of Apex Capital. He has 3 million followers on Instagram, drives a neon green Lamborghini, and claims his proprietary AI trading bot generates 20% returns every single month. He is the face of modern success. But I know the truth. Julian isn't a genius, he is a criminal. Last month, he stole $200,000, my mother's entire life savings, through his exclusive investment fund. When she tried to withdraw her money for surgery, his team ghosted her. Most people would call the police, but the police take years, and by then, the money is usually gone. I didn't want him in handcuffs, I wanted the money back. So I did something dangerous. I didn't sue him, I applied for a job at his company. My name is Arthur. For 30 years, I was a forensic accountant for the IRS. I find money that doesn't want to be found. And I just became the new CFO of the biggest Ponzi scheme in New York. Here is how I brought down a $50 million empire from the inside without anyone noticing. It started with a phone call on a Sunday evening. My mother, a retired school teacher who lives in Florida, was sobbing uncontrollably. It took me 10 minutes to calm her down enough to understand what happened. "I wanted to surprise you, Arthur," she cried. "I wanted to grow my pension so I could help you buy a bigger house. This nice young man on the internet, Julian, he promised guaranteed returns. I wired him everything, $200,000. But now his website is down, and nobody answers the phone." My blood ran cold. I immediately looked up Apex Capital. It had all the classic red flags of a sophisticated fraud. First red flag, guaranteed returns. In finance, nothing is guaranteed. If someone promises you 2% risk-free profit a week, they are lying. Second red flag, complexity. Julian claimed his black box AI used quantum algorithms to trade crypto. It was buzzword soup designed to confuse unsophisticated investors. Third red flag, urgency. The marketing materials screamed, "Limited spots available, invest now." I dug deeper. I pulled Julian Thorne's background. He wasn't a finance graduate from Wharton. He was a college dropout from New Jersey who had previously run a failed dropshipping course. Suddenly, he was managing $50 million? Impossible. I told my mom, "Don't worry, I'm going to handle it." "Are you going to the FBI?" she asked. "No," I said. "If the FBI raids him now, they freeze the assets. The lawyers get paid first, the government gets paid second, and victims like you get pennies on the dollar 5 years from now. I need to get inside the accounts." I noticed something on Julian's LinkedIn page. He was posting frantically about needing a head of finance. This is common for scammers. They are great at sales, raising money, but terrible at operations, managing money. As their Ponzi scheme grows, the paperwork becomes a nightmare. They need someone to organize the lies. I spent the night crafting a resume. I stripped away my specific IRS background. Instead, I presented myself as Arthur Penhaligon, a boring, old-school bookkeeper who had spent 20 years managing finances for a quiet logistics firm in the Midwest. I made myself look like the perfect yes man, competent enough to do the math, but too old and passive to ask questions. I sent the application. 2 hours later, I got an email. "Interview tomorrow, 10 a.m., penthouse suite." The wolf was looking for a sheep. He didn't know he just invited the hunter into his den. The Apex Capital office wasn't an office. It was a frat house with expensive furniture. Located in a penthouse in Soho, the place smelled of Red Bull and desperation. 20-something analysts were shouting into phones, aggressively selling investment packages to grandmothers in Iowa. I sat in the lobby, clutching my worn leather briefcase. Finally, Julian walked out. He looked exactly like his Instagram photos.
bleached teeth, Gucci loafers, and eyes that darted around the room, never focusing on one thing. Arthur, right? He didn't shake my hand. He just motioned for me to follow him into a glass office. "So you're a numbers guy," Julian said, scrolling through his phone while talking to me. "I need someone to clean up the mess. My last accountant quit, said he couldn't handle the volume. We're growing too fast, Arthur. Too much money coming in. I need someone to track the wires, pay the vendors, and keep the IRS off my back. Can you do that?" "I am very organized, Mr. Thorne," I said in a soft, monotonous voice. "I specialize in reconciliation. I just want a quiet job where I can balance the books." Julian looked at me. He saw exactly what I wanted him to see, a gray, boring man who wouldn't understand his genius. "Okay," Julian said, "here's the deal. $150,000 a year, but you sign a strict NDA, non-disclosure agreement. What happens in Apex stays in Apex, and I need you to start today, right now." "I can do that," I said. "Great. Here's the login to the bank accounts." He slid a sticky note across the desk. I almost laughed. A sticky note. This multi-million-dollar fund had its master passwords on a piece of paper. As soon as I logged into his system, I saw the chaos. It was worse than I imagined. There was no AI trading bot. There was no quantum algorithm. There was just one main operating account at Chase Bank. I spent the first day just tracing the transaction history. It was a textbook Ponzi scheme. Here is how it worked. Investor A wires $50,000. Julian takes $10,000 out immediately for management fees, which he spent on watches and bottle service. Investor B calls wanting to withdraw $5,000 of profit. Julian takes $5,000 from Investor A's money and wires it to Investor B. There was no investing happening. He was just shuffling money from new victims to pay old victims to keep the illusion alive. But then I saw it, the thing that gave me hope. Amid the millions of dollars of fraud, there was a segregated holding account containing about $4 million. This was the rainy day fund. Julian hadn't touched it yet. It was sitting there, parked. My mom's money and the money of 20 other recent victims were likely mixed into that pot. I realized I couldn't just steal it back. That would make me a criminal too. I needed to legally compel him to release it. Or better yet, I needed to trick him into authorizing a refund that he thought was a dividend. At 5 p.m., Julian stormed into my office. He looked stressed. "Arthur," he yelled, "I have a problem. I have a VIP investor flying in from Dubai tomorrow. He wants to put in $5 million, but he demands to see an audited financial statement before he signs. I need you to make one." "An audit takes months, Julian," I said calmly. "I don't have months." He slammed his hand on the desk. "Just make a spreadsheet. Show him we have assets. Make it look professional. If we get this $5 million, we are set for life. Can you do it?" I adjusted my glasses. This was the opening. I can create a preliminary statement, but to make it look legitimate to a sophisticated investor, we need to consolidate the funds. We need to move the money from the holding account into the active trading account to show liquidity. Julian narrowed his eyes. "Move the rainy day money?" "Just for 24 hours, I lied. "So the Dubai investor sees a big balance. Once he wires his $5 million, we move it back." Julian thought for a moment. Greed wrestled with paranoia in his eyes. Greed won. "Do it. Move the $4 million and print that report." He handed me the authentication token for the wire transfers. I had the keys. Now I just needed to drive the car off the cliff.
The next morning, the atmosphere in the penthouse was electric. Julian was wearing a three-piece suit that probably cost more than my car. He was pacing back and forth, shouting at the interns to make sure the presentation deck was perfect. The Dubai investor was scheduled to arrive at noon. Of course, Julian didn't know that there was no Dubai investor. I had created a fake persona, complete with a fake LinkedIn profile and a fake inquiry email, just to create the pressure needed to move the money. At 10 a.m., Julian leaned over my desk. "Arthur, did you move the funds? The account needs to look fat when I open it on the projector." "It's done," I said, showing him the screen. $4 million, consolidated in the main operating account, ready for viewing. "Perfect," he grinned, clapping me on the shoulder. "You're a wizard, Arthur. After we close this deal, I'm buying you a Rolex." He walked away to check his hair in the mirror. This was my window. I had about 45 minutes before he started his presentation. I opened the banking portal. The balance stared back at me, $4,250,000. I pulled out a USB drive from my pocket. On it was a CSV file I had spent the last 3 nights compiling. It contained the original bank routing numbers of my mother and 23 other victims I had identified from Julian's messy email records. In a normal company, wiring $4 million requires 2 people, a creator and an improver. But Julian was arrogant. He had given me full administrative rights because he was too lazy to approve transactions himself. He trusted me because I was boring. I uploaded the CSV file under the batch name System Refund Error Correction V2. I gave it a boring technical name so if anyone glanced at my screen, it would look like routine maintenance. My heart was hammering against my ribs. My hands were sweating. If Julian walked in right now, if he saw that the money wasn't going to a vendor but back to the victims, he would kill me, or at least his hired security guard standing by the elevator. I clicked Process Batch. A loading bar appeared. Initiating. 20%. "Arthur!" Julian shouted from across the room. I froze. "Where's the sparkling water? The investor likes sparkling water." "I'll get it," I yelled back, my voice cracking slightly. I didn't move. Processing, 60%. The security guard looked at me. He frowned. He started walking toward my desk. Processing, 90%. "Hey, buddy," the guard said, looming over me. "You look like you're about to have a heart attack. You okay?" Transfer complete. Funds released. I slammed the laptop shut. "I'm fine," I exhaled. "Just nervous about the big meeting." The money was gone. It was hurtling through the Federal Reserve wire system back to the people who actually earned it. But now I had a bigger problem. I was sitting in a room with a sociopath, and I had just drained his bank account to 0, and he was about to open that account on a giant projector screen in front of his entire staff. Noon arrived. The doorbell rang. But it wasn't the Dubai investor. It was a pizza delivery guy I had ordered to stall for time. Julian was getting impatient. "Where is he? He should be here." "Maybe he is stuck in traffic," I suggested, standing near the door. "Why don't you start the presentation for the team? Practice the pitch. Show them the liquidity. Get the energy up." Julian nodded. He loved an audience. He gathered everyone in the main lounge area. He connected his laptop to the massive 85-inch screen. "Listen up, everyone," Julian boomed. "Today, we level up. Apex Capital is about to become a global hedge fund, and to prove to you that we are ready for the big leagues, I want to show you our liquid cash position." He logged into the Chase corporate portal. The screen was huge. Every intern, every salesperson, and the security guard was watching. Julian typed his password. He hit enter. The dashboard loaded. Available balance, $0, 0 cents. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop on the expensive carpet. Julian blinked. He hit refresh. $0, 0 cents. He hit refresh again, harder this time. $0, 0 cents. "Arthur?" Julian's voice was high-pitched, trembling. He turned around slowly. His eyes were wide with confusion and rising panic. "Arthur, is this a glitch? Why does it say 0? Where is the $4 million? I stood up. I buttoned my cheap suit jacket. I wasn't the boring bookkeeper anymore. "It's not a glitch, Julian," I said, my voice projecting clearly across the room. "The funds have been returned to their original owners. I executed a batch refund 10 minutes ago. My mother says thank you, by the way." You what? Julian's face turned a violent shade of red. You stole my money? No, I corrected him. I stole their money back, and I didn't steal it alone. I pointed to the elevator. The doors slid open, but it wasn't the Dubai investor. It was 6 agents wearing FBI windbreakers, guns drawn. Behind them walked Agent Miller, a contact from my old IRS days whom I had called 3 days ago. I had sent him the entire transaction history, the proof of the Ponzi scheme, and the exact time to raid the place. "Julian Thorne," Agent Miller shouted. "Hands where I can see them." The room erupted into chaos. The interns screamed and dropped their phones. The security guard put his hands up immediately, wanting no part of this. Julian tried to run toward the balcony, maybe thinking he could jump to the next building like in a movie, but he tripped over an expensive ottoman and face-planted into the floor. As they cuffed him, he looked up at me from the carpet, bleeding from his nose. "Who are you?" he spat. "You're just a bean counter." I crouched down next to him. "I'm a forensic accountant, Julian. We don't carry guns, we carry calculators, and trust me, the math always wins." I walked out of the penthouse while they were reading him his rights. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. "Arthur, oh my God, the money just hit my account. Is this real? How did you do it?" I typed back, "Just balance the books, Mom. Love you." Julian was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for wire fraud and securities fraud. Apex Capital was shut down. And me? I retired for about 2 weeks. Then I got a call from a woman in Texas. She lost her savings to a crypto guru on TikTok. She asked if I could help. I looked at my calculator. I smiled. I'm on my way.